We're gonna call the meeting to order. We're gonna go out of order a little bit just to get things moved along for different people. So I guess, Mr. Brissett, you wanna come up and we move you so you can get back home?
Sure. I don't mind staying.
Yeah.
Hi everyone.
Good evening.
Thanks for having me. So I'm here to talk about insurance. We currently handle your insurance for the town. We've had it with Hub down in the Colchester office since about 2017-18. We'd like to continue to do it. We know that this year you were looking at some options. And
We're always looking at that.
I know.
Yeah.
And
We like you, but we like money better.
no, and actually, if you, so I don't wanna, you guys have a really busy agenda, so I don't wanna spend a lot of time going through the proposal. We handle your buildings, your liability, your buildings, your general liability, your slip and fall coverage, your professional liability coverages, your E&O coverages for yourselves, for Kathy. We do your work comp for your employees, and we insure all your vehicles as well. The good news is the premium went down from last year. It went from total allowing $56,634 to $52,600. So we were able to reduce the premium quite a bit for you, knowing that budgets are tight. And we were pretty aggressive with our underwriters to do that for you. Kathy had sent me an email. I know you guys wanted a spreadsheet to compare apples to apples. It's pretty hard to do, because I know you guys looked at the league, Vermont League is quoting. The way they do it and the way we do it completely different. They'll do it is they write a master policy for every single community they write in Vermont, and they share the limits. So for example, if they have a $10 million liability limit, that limit is shared for every town that they insure. We provide a separate limit of liability just for you guys specifically, and we don't.
I'm sorry, and then also Vermont League of Cities and Towns has an aggregate limit that's related to that as well. So
yeah.
We can talk about that later.
So, and then the other thing that's different is they're an assessable company, which means that if for some reason they ran out of money or they ran out of limits, they would go back and assess all the members to cover that. We're not an assessable insurance company. We're just a standard insurance company, A+ rated company. So we wouldn't assess members should something happen. Hub's the 4th largest insurance brokerage company in New England. We write insurance for public entities in Maine, Massachusetts, Vermont, Connecticut, and New Hampshire. So if you guys have any questions, or
We appreciate the
I didn't know if you wanted.
scrubbing that number.
Yeah, well.
I mean,
So is the total 53,000?
No, it's 52,600.
That's
That's for brand X.
Oh,
the top
brand
page.
X.
Top pages there.
Okay.
There are some difference in liability limits, but we think that the coverages that we have for you, you're adequately covered should something ever happen. You guys have you've been a good client for a while. You had one year of bad losses with us back in 2019. There was about $140,000 loss, but that has since fallen off, which probably would relate to the savings that we're able to give you as well right now. We did have just a situation this year with Kathy and I talked about it. We haven't reported it. We just put the company on notice with the poll. I don't think anything's going to come about it, but if it does, we have coverage for that as well. So I don't know if you want me to go through the high points of the policy, or do you guys have copy? Yeah,
I made one copy there.
Oh, okay.
But
I'll leave my copy here then too.
So this expires on 1 February or 31 January?
Yeah.
Everyone. So we got a little time to evaluate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the select board may wanna go into an executive session toward the end of the meeting to determine
Sure.
a direction and then.
Yeah, because I think the league's master policy is January 1 to January 1. Ours is 2/1 to 2/1. And when they came in, we could have given you a January 1 policy, but if we canceled it, you would have been penalized. So it doesn't make any sense. So what Kathy wanted to do, did they give you a prorated amount from 2/1?
It's a 1 year amount.
Okay, good.
So it's equal,
Yeah.
equal in size.
Right.
Is there any cyber liability?
There's no cyber coverage because you've never had it before. Kathy has an application that's not that expensive that we can look at in getting that if that's something you want. And that's something we can turn around rather quickly. You got that this morning, right?
I did, I got the application this morning.
Insurance is fun, isn't it?
It's nice to have it.
Yeah. And if you guys have any questions, you can let Kathy know and I can email if you want.
I think the big questions were about the boiler and machinery question, and you had answered that. Boiler and machinery, do you wanna just talk
Yeah,
about
so-
what that
so-
number is?
You have property insurance, which covers your buildings. You have about $4.9 million of buildings and contents. So this building, for example, all the stuff, and you have insurance for that, and you have some other buildings too. The other part is, in a separate company, you would have to have boiler and machinery coverage. That would cover your boilers and all the machinery in the buildings. But the property policy doesn't insure that, so we have to go to a separate carrier to provide coverage for that. And the way Hartford Steam Boiler does that is they provide a high limit for, that's, their policy is a $100 million limit on that. You'll never need that, but that's what they provide for everybody. And that's why you need that policy.
That's for any heating system?
Yeah, so if you had a short circuit or a surge or lightning surged out and that happened, then that policy kicks in and picks up the coverage for you.
Seems like that's overinsured, but that's the lowest.
Yeah,
increment that you-
it's the lowest that's how they do that.
Yeah.
They write boiling, Hartford Steam writes boiling machinery coverages for just about every community in the country. They do a lot of it. Usually that's what they do. Because some communities have values of $300–400 million of coverage. And it is a lot for you, I agree. We could look at a different carrier for that, but I wouldn't suggest we do that. Because you don't want to have a gap in coverage that Hartford Steam provides. And I sent you a quick little blurb on that.
Yeah, they're just so I'm not
No.
better, you're better at talking about this than I am, I just wanted to give you.
Yeah, so
That's fine.
that's why we have, yeah.
Yeah, I just was curious. It seems like overinsured in
Yeah.
that area, but that's the way it is.
Mhm.
I guess,
It's not like it's a huge sum of money.
No, it's not.
is there highlights that you wanna go over before we're gonna have to sit down and compare and?
Well, I think the difference was the liability limit that the league does, and I kind of explained that. And then we insure,
How many Vermont municipalities do you cover?
Hub has about 6 that they have, but the company tried it, writes just about half, 3/4 of the county police as well. So Trident is the carrier, they write the county police folks as well.
I'm good. Are you
Yeah.
good, Gavin? Yeah.
Thank you for coming up.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I met your state rep this afternoon, down at the store.
Sure, yeah.
I was having the macaroni and cheese.
There you go.
I was hoping that store was gonna be open. It was closed. But thank you very much, I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
drive safe.
I just noticed we have a question from the public, do you wanna take, how do you wanna handle questions from the public this time?
Jim?
Do you wanna open it to questions?
Oh, is it about insurance?
Yeah,
Yep, let's
Yeah,
do that one when we're
absolutely.
here.
yeah, I'm all about modernization, and I think that cybersecurity insurance is something that we should consider. At the dental practice in St. Albans, we've been fortunate, but boy, we have colleagues, we have the example of what happened at the medical center. People are getting tangled up with cybersecurity problems all the time now, and I would really like to see us protect ourselves from that. If it's affordable.
No, it would be, and we have the application almost filled out, so we'll just
Yeah.
finish it today.
Is there a rough range you could give us what it might cost a town this size?
A couple thousand maybe, if that.
Yeah, it's definitely something we need to consider, because
Yeah.
nothing's like it used to be.
I mean, you can spend.
Yeah, why don't you get us a number on
Yeah,
that?
I'll do that.
That'd be good.
Well, thank you for coming,
No,
and
I
we'll
appreciate
move
it.
along and get you back home.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with your agenda.
Okay, and Linda, you wanted to get going because of your knee, and
Yeah, I'd like it, but I do have a personnel,
so we need to go to executive session.
Do you wanna do?
if you want to.
Who else has got a real short?
I'm not sure if, so we didn't cover the, public to be heard yet, so I'm not sure how many people are here to speak on that. But
do that.
Yeah, let's do it now. You got time enough, Linda? Your knee keep, go
It's
for
on
it.
ice.
It's on ice.
Kathy, you sent us a copy of this,
I forwarded a copy of that and the
so
other.
let's forward this to Kevin.
Okay,
This is paper.
Yeah.
there you go.
Okay, so I guess at this point, we'll do this where the way it's done, public to be heard. Who would like to speak first?
This would be a time, if you have a comment or something that's not on the agenda that you wanted to speak to.
I just would like to possibly have an executive session with the zoning board members, the select board members only, just to have, about my resignation, so that give you guys some clarity on that, if that's a possibility, just for a few minutes of your time.
Well, we could do,
It doesn't have to be now, it could be later on.
okay,
It
yeah.
could be at the end of the meeting.
Well, then, if there's no comments right now, why don't we do, we'll have to go to executive session. We're gonna do, Linda, how long is this, 5 minutes?
Yeah, this isn't gonna be long. And
So-
I think Kathy has a little
So
something.
somebody needs to make a motion.
To go into executive session to discuss.
Make a
personnel.
motion, we go into executive session to discuss a personnel issue for 5 minutes. No, out of respect to the people that are here.
Yeah, no, it's not a long.
We've been notified that our file clerk has given a 2-week notice, so there is an opportunity within the office. We're gonna figure out some alternative. Linda obviously is challenged with a knee replacement, so we're gonna make an announcement that we'll have
Abbreviated.
the abbreviated and appointments in the interim as Linda goes through a convalescence and recovery, which we're hopeful will continue to go as well as it has. And if anyone has any ideas or suggestions for people that might want to step up and help in this transition, we'd appreciate that. We have a couple other options that we're going to pursue. So that's a statement.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the things I was thinking about bringing up tonight, but now this kind of prompts me to go ahead and say it, is I wonder if it's a good time to like take a real assessment of the workload, do some kind of a, I don't know what the word is, but just an assessment of all the jobs that need doing, everything from, simple things that you could pay somebody $10, $15 an hour to do, all the way up to executive level function. And then decide if maybe you need just a total administrative assistant for the whole office, or you need, just to get some idea, because I think we've got to get ahead. There's definitely a land speculation boom ahead of us, and that in itself is lots of back and forth and communications and legal things, and please give me this information, and I need to know what this reg is. And then you've got all the jobs that this file clerk was doing, and then maybe more jobs to keep the town ahead of all the demands. So maybe this is a good occasion to look at job descriptions, be real specific about all the jobs that need doing, and with these guys, what their skill set is and what we could hire somebody to do that would just function like an entire across the board assistant to make all kinds of things happen, and let these guys worry
That's
about.
part of the reason why the jobs were split up,
used to be town clerk, how much carried treasurer and town clerk.
I heard that, yeah.
And that's why we have an administrative assistant that kind of helps the select board get their end of everything done, or tries to get everything done. So, I mean,
Maybe
I'm
a time
not,
study
I'm
if it
not,
does well.
I'm just trying to keep our costs somewhat in reality too.
Yeah,
So it's just, I mean, it's always good to look at ideas.
yeah, I was just thinking, time study is the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
If you did a time study about who's doing what, and if you've got your executive functioning people doing only that, maybe it does make sense to pull the fire clerk into a general admin person that doesn't have as high a level of executive function as Kathy and Linda do.
How many hours does the clerk position? What's the hours?
The assistant,
Yeah, the person that's getting done.
It varies depending on the year, but she's been a time of year.
Yeah.
Of course, when taxes.
What's the
are big. I mean, usually she's here, well, 1 day a week, which is 7 hours, but now she's here 32 hours. But during tax time, she's here probably 21 hours a week.
Is there a job description for that? I mean, I know people looking for work, but I don't know what the,
I think we'll have next steps on that, as this is very new.
okay.
It's really very new, so we have to
Yeah, okay.
work on all that stuff. But I'll be,
right, we're just aware of it ourselves this evening,
yeah.
so we'll try to get something together on this thing.
Thank you, Lynn.
Well, the warning. We need to discuss the warning. So Gavin, you said you would like,
I'd like to see what we did in 21.
it's right there.
Right. Any balance we had left over from 20 year 23, we use it, put it forward. We've been using this money in the equipment, town equipment fund.
Yeah.
For the 2023, I just talked to the auditors today, and it looks like the surplus is gonna be about $65,000, I believe. And I have some,
And that varies from day to day until we get it done. Right?
well, no, this is, it will vary a little bit, but very little at this point. The only thing that, they sent me in with a letter too. The only thing that they will have not done by the end of this month is, the Beamer's retirement gas beat 68
Well,
reports.
why don't we discuss that when we get into the
Budget piece.
budget item? So what we want to do is,
I want to figure out how I gotta get this ready for you by the end of the week. So would that would go in between 6 and 7, it would become 7?
Whatever position it was before, it's in order.
Yep, well,
We actually, last year, we put the surplus into the budget.
We had done it before the 31st of, we had done it before the 31st of December, and we didn't, so we had to do it this way this year, I think.
The budget already has the, we would be able to amend the budget tonight in order to put it in the budget for the book.
so we don't need to
We
warn
don't
it,
need to put it on the warrant because it would be part of the budget
which I think is cleaner.
presented to the,
yeah, so we don't have to do
And
that.
we won't
Perfect.
do whatever works most realistically, in my mind.
Okay.
You say move the surplus,
the surplus has a surplus revenue line. We have a revenue line surplus, and then we have surplus transfer to equipment in the expenses. So the select board approved the budget pending potential changes due to the surplus.
right.
So that
And
was,
wasn't that the way we posed it? So we didn't have to do it every year, and
So what we had done in the past.
There was no Gavin.
So is there anything, I mean, that you're gonna wanna change in this warning? You had mentioned
Everything you gentlemen see you want to see changing it?
or add to it? Brian had some concerns.
Well, just to be very transparent and public about it, we've got 2 ballot initiatives that have got the required amount of signatures, one of which talks about increasing the number of people on planning and zoning from 5 to 7.
5 to 9.
5 to 9. We've been advised by the Vermont League and Cities and Town that that's an advisory ballot item, and that best practices would not put an advisory ballot item on a warning. I'm kind of the contrarian view that if people have stepped forward and put together a ballot initiative, put it on the ballot, and we can explain that, hey, this is not in accordance with what we see has been recommended by the Vermont League, and it's advisory only, and Vermont law, public statute says that because the planning and zoning members aren't voted by the public, that's statutorily the responsibility in this town of the select board, that we can't, I mean, it has to be a non-binding advisory vote. So, I mean, I don't see this, I could see it both ways.
It
But-
could still go under the non-binding at the end of the meeting.
Right, you know, and
So
I,
it
you know,
doesn't
I
need to
realize
be a
that, and
separate-
I didn't know what people thought about it, but, you know, people are smart, we showed up at town meeting, we said, all right, we understand we've been presented this ballot initiative, with the required signatures. Our council, or not our council, but Vermont League and Cities and Towns advise us, because it's non-binding, they would advise us not to do this. But what's your pleasure? Bring it up to the town meeting. But the main thing we want to communicate, I think, as a board is we're listening and we're respectful of people they want more inclusion, you know, more participation. We understand that. But, you know, I don't know what
Well,
other people think.
I think it's fair to put it out there like that if we understand people are interested and want to see more inclusion, but to jump ahead and not, admit to the fact that there's not generally 12 people sitting in the room looking to volunteer for these positions. If we go to a 9-member board, we have to have 5 members present for a quorum.
I think it'd be 7. I think it'd be,
Well, either way, if
it
you
was
go
9.
to 9, it's 5, if you go to 7, it's 4.
Is that it? If it's 9, it's 5?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think if we jump up to that big of a board, we can barely keep 5 or 3, filled, so. I think we need to look into it and have a conversation about it, but the article in the town meeting will be non-binding, and I think we can have more productive discussion before town meeting about it than waiting.
I might not clear myself, but what happens if you go to a board of 9? You get, say the first year or two, you get 9 people be able to fill the positions. Then some of the other ones we've had where you don't have enough people afterwards to do them, how does that affect the voting on the board? Say you only get 5 active members, 6 or 7 active members after a year or 2. How do you do that? Does the board have to then?
The number of people on the board doesn't change. Like, if it's 9, it's 9.
Yeah.
So
Right, it
you have to-
isn't flexible, that's
It's
what you're
not,
saying.
if it's 9, it's 9, and you have to have 5.
Yeah. So
And
you'd
so
have to
that
find
means
5
that-
people that would actually participate.
Well, and show up,
For-
to have a quorum, you would
Yeah.
have to have that. It doesn't matter if the position is vacant, the number of the board is still the number of,
Unless we go back and change it from a 9 to a 7 or a 7 to a 5,
whatever.
the number remains 9 and 5.
And then if, let's say we had a 9-person board and 5 people showed up and they needed to vote on something, in order to make that motion pass, all 5 would have to
Be in
vote for
agreement.
it. Because you're still counting a 9-member board.
Okay.
So it would have to be committed people who would want to participate.
So that comes back to my question. Is the warning ready to be signed, or are you gonna write up something that needs to be added to it?
Yeah, and just to reiterate for the people that are here viewing, is we've been advised on both ballot initiatives from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns that they're non-binding, and their advice is be respectful to the people who put the ballot initiatives forward, but they advise not putting on a non-binding ballot initiative on a warning.
Or even on a ballot. Or even a paper ballot. It's,
Right, well, this is, what I'm talking about is the warning that we're gonna determine tonight. We're gonna finalize the warning tonight.
if we can, yes.
Right.
Do some of the members want to speak to this one right here?
I'm getting plenty confused suddenly.
Yeah.
So.
You wouldn't be the only one.
Tomorrow it's 9, and you have a quorum of 5. A couple months down the road or whatever, you just can't seem to keep a quorum in the house. Can the select board simply say this isn't gonna work, and we're moving the board to 7 or 5? Or do you have to wait until another town meeting and do all, you know, it sounds like it's in your hands.
I think because they're appointed, the board can determine the numbers.
Anytime you want,
If you can't find enough people to qualify, I think, I'm not.
anytime you want. You
Yeah.
can change the number of the board anytime you want.
Any board, right? Not
You're
just
a
planning and
Saturday.
zoning, but.
That's
I
true.
would just reiterate that the statute doesn't preclude expansion and reduction of the board by the select board at any time.
Yeah.
In other words, you could move, we'd like to move it to 7 members or 9 members, and then at a time you could change that and say, we'd now like to reduce it to a number of X, so you could in essence put a sunset on it.
Yeah. So it's kind of like your town plan, it can be moved and changed at different times without. So how do we,
Linda had a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you know what, I think that at this stage, this is all just about a gesture of goodwill, that the
Yeah.
folks, I think, I don't know if a lot of us in this room, I shouldn't speak for everybody, but did that say 5 to 9 members, or did it say just 9 members?
Two nine members, but currently it's
I think
five.
that there was some play in that I don't think anybody was asking if you guys to move it to 9 members and that's that. And I think that there's just gestures of goodwill. If you've got an abundance of people that are interested right now, then take advantage of it. And if times change, then react to that. But it's always good to react to an abundance of public interest. You never lose that.
Right, but the problem with reacting, when a project's midstream, whether it's the current or the next, if we start out with 9, then it changes, that doesn't sound well either.
I guess I'm thinking.
Yeah, this does say 5 to 9, which is pretty clear. I mean, that's kind of what,
Yeah, I think people meant 7.
but I appreciate your interpretation. I mean, I appreciate your feedback.
From 5
I just
to,
wanna.
Oh, 5 to 9.
right.
Oh, I think people were reading it 5 to 9, meaning 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
No, it says
So you gotta be
increase
odd numbers.
from the present 5 to 9.
Oh, absolutely, everybody meant 5 to 9, meaning between
6, 7,
5 and
8,
9.
9.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8,
Not
9.
meaning 5 up to 9. Oh, I'm so sorry, that's a miscommunication. And I didn't have anything to do with writing that, but I always understood it from
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8.
To the range of, the range
range.
possible.
Well, but if I may, to be clear, wouldn't that mean 5, 7, or 9, because it has to be an
Yes.
odd
Be an odd number.
Right.
So it's 5, 7, or 9.
Yeah, I think
That's
that's-
what we're looking at.
Yeah, well, the way this reads is it's 9, go from 5 to 9. So that's where I think some of us are saying, you know, we look at committees and we say, you know, it's not like we have a lot of people on these committees. Dog catcher position is open, Dave is.
He surrendered his power.
Yeah.
No, I turned it
And
back.
we've actually lost 2
Just
dog catchers
before-
this year.
Just before we move on, I just want to reiterate something, that a lot of us participated in town meeting last year. And last year, when we were expressing concerns about the town plan, about some various things, we were told to get involved. And where were you when we were doing this? And we heard that. And so there's been a large group of people who have been working toward becoming more involved by learning the process. I have learned a ton in the last year that I had no idea about. And trying to have an appreciation for the town's doings and operations. And to do that, people are now, or to be involved as we were asked to be. This is one step toward getting people involved. And I have a little bit of a hard time with the what ifs, like we'll have a hard time. Like now we have a different group of people. We have people involved, we have people trying to learn the process, and I feel like to kind of put it out there as, well, sometimes we have a hard time getting people to show up, isn't really fair to this process that we're trying to get involved with. So a year ago, we were told, get involved. And here we are. So I don't think it's very fair to push it on as, well, now we might have a hard time getting people to show up. I think that people deserve the opportunity and the chance to prove that they are in it.
Just as a response to that, like, I'm grateful that we've got some interest in the planning and zoning, but when we say get involved, you know, there's committee structure within the town. In addition to self-educating all this, I guess, you know, like if we went from 7 right now, I'm not sure we don't have an application that could complete the, you know, we couldn't do that, so that's why
Please explain that.
well, if we went to 9, we don't have 9 applicant, we couldn't fill that board right now. So regardless. No, I'm just saying, I think we have to be careful about doing something that is, you know, like a quick response, and then I like the fact that we could, you know, 3 months from now say, hey, we don't have, you know, 9 or 7 or whatever, and we could pull back. But that's why we're just trying to, and I would say, when we say get involved, or you know, there's a rec committee, there's existing committees.
And involvement doesn't mean instant gratification, right? We can't all come in here and say, hey, none of us in this room like the town plan to change it tonight. There's a process, there's a reason why it's changed every, 5 years?
You can change the town plan, eh?
Right, you can, but there's a process where every 5 years it's done by plan.
Yeah,
If
but
everybody wants to.
you don't have to wait 5 years.
No, that's right, that's what I'm saying. We can work on changing the town plan before that date, but we can't go in and just rewrite it today based on one room full of people. And there's a lot of discussion and things that have to happen to get to that point.
But you can change the board numbers.
I don't know that I don't personally, in my involvement, there's only one item that we're looking to change into, maybe I'm misspeaking, but there isn't a whole lot. I mean, the town plan and the regulations, the zoning regulations are pretty solid. So we all kind of learned, so when a year ago when we were all questioning some things, we were told, where were you when this was happening? So then we were all like, okay, maybe we don't really know exactly what we're talking about. Let's educate ourselves. And we've come to really appreciate the town plan and the zoning regulations.
That's well said. We have come to appreciate a lot in a year. You guys inspired us all with your many, many comments at town meeting day last year about getting involved. And I think you've got an abundance of people who want to be involved at this level, and then that inspires other people to find their particular niche. And so that's all I'm saying. Even if you use that petition as just some knowledge about how strongly the public feels about that, because that one filled up really, really quick. And, you know, I really want to make a point. I don't think anybody really wants you to change it to 9 overnight. And I think people were reading it 5 to 9, not 5 to 9. So, I don't know. I signed it, and I thought it was between 5 and 9.
I would say, given this direct feedback, which is very helpful, I feel confident in saying, I changed my mind. I don't think we should put it on the warrant. I'm hearing flexibility, sensitivity, and so what I say is, unless there's any other changes to this warning, that's why you're here.
Yeah.
I think the warning is good, and I think, you know, that we can respond at a later part in this agenda or at a next meeting to this, you know, kind of a nonverbal, you know, all these signatures that's saying, do what you can to adverse. So I think we get it.
Hold on, so are you suggesting not including it on the warning?
Yeah, I think yes, I'm suggesting not putting it on the warning, putting a non-binding advisory initiative on the warning. So I think the warning that we have is good based on the feedback and dialogue that we just had.
So you're saying it would not be permissible to be raised at town meeting?
No, a town meeting is a live meeting.
Yeah.
So anything can be raised.
Absolutely.
But what I'm saying is, we don't, based on the conversation that we just had, it's my opinion that we comply with the Vermont League's guidance, advisory guidance that says, don't put a non-binding ballot on the warrant, you know, for the town
Yeah,
meeting.
and just to add, in terms of the town meeting, there's an agenda item on the warning that says all other items to be discussed. So that would be the time. Last year, we talked about community school. We talked a little bit about the zoning bylaws idea, and that resulted in a grant writer, and we applied for a grant through Northwest Regional Planning, and we didn't get that grant, but we're reviewing what happened and trying to move forward with that. So that time of all other
I
business
understand, I would give the
absolutely-
feedback that I think that's wrong-headed, not to include it specifically on the warning. You have 100 odd, I don't know how many people signed that, ballot, or the petition to put it on the warning. I'm not offering a position of how I feel about that particular amendment, but I do think it is substantial, and I would invite the feedback of the town administrator, if this has occurred in the past, to have a petition of more than 100 persons in our town sign it without it being specifically and expressly expressed at town meeting. And it can be that folks, whether it's the select board or others, talk about it in a mindful way and then make a recommendation about how they might promote voting on it. But I would disagree that I don't think it's the right move to not expressly include it as a line item. It's expressing that it's a priority of this select board, as having heard from the 100 in town.
I changed my mind. We have nothing to lose to put that on, so.
The only thing I'm asking, is this gonna be like 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night? So it can't follow like the town meeting voting for the school
Wait,
budget?
whoa, we're talking about two different things.
Two different things.
But if this is
No,
on.
this is not the Australian ballot.
This is not the Australian ballot.
This is a warning for the town meeting. Yeah, I mean, if it's gonna be interpreted like that, you know, out of respect for the people that signed it, we're gonna table moving any changes until town meeting.
So it's considered advisory because it's non-binding, just to clarify, it's non-binding because the select board appoints, and we don't elect. So what would the select board, would we keep the language the same so that it's not confusing?
Should it be a little different, because obviously it was confusing to people that
It
signed
probably
it.
should be clarified that it has to be 5, 7, or 9, an odd number. That's
That's the only thing I was thinking,
that's
that should
just
be
housekeeping.
clarified.
That's not changing
That's
any.
housekeeping.
It
That's
also
how people
strikes me as such
interpreted
a
it.
good
Yeah.
opportunity for the select board to share what you just shared. If you do take the stand that, hey, you've really welcomed that the town, that community members have stepped up, and ergo, you're suggesting a 7 number. Excuse me?
What's that? I gotta be honest, I don't know how you guys feel, this is just me going out here, but I don't have a problem making a motion to change the number on the board to 7. You can do it right now?
I
You
don't support it at this point.
Excuse me.
No, go ahead.
In theory, you guys could have this resolved before town meeting.
Yeah.
And then if you want to mention at town meeting that there was a petition and here's what we did as a board, it seems like that would, I'm just.
No, I don't have a problem with that, I mean, it's obviously.
The only problem to that is that we have printing deadlines, and we need to get some language on the warning and have it signed so that it can go. That's what we're doing. The town clerk is trying to make sure that we have a warning signed by our printing deadline. So if we're gonna put it on, it needs to go on soon.
And we need to have the language like.
And the language would need to happen now. And then, or the select board would need to maybe do something else at this meeting.
I guess my point is, even if it's on the warning, and you've made the decision and you've got a change implemented, it's simply briefing the townspeople and saying, you know, you can put it out there and just say, here's what we've done. It's well within our authority as a board, and move on. I don't see how anyone, well, anyway,
Yeah, I think what we're looking for is goodwill. Anything that can generate goodwill and trust and all that is just gonna move the ball down the field super, with less drama.
So would the select board like to have some language around this put onto the warning?
I would rather discuss it at select board. I would continue the conversation until March. When we get to town meeting, we can speak to where we're at. That way there's no confusion as to, hey, we're telling the select board we're doing this. It's very hard to describe to everybody in the room what's mandated, you're telling the select board to do, what's non-binding.
If you moved it to 7 members beforehand, wouldn't you alleviate a lot of issues?
You could, yes.
If you did that, I'm thinking, is there any reason, it should be somewhere, I don't know how you print it or put it up, but some way mention the fact there was a strong petition requesting us, asking us to look at.
In your select board message.
Yeah, we could put that in the letter from the select board or something, if that would work. But I'm strongly, I have no problem going to 7 members. That's myself, I'm not talking for you guys, I'm just talking for myself. Get it done.
It sounds like there's 2 issues being discussed. The first sounds like whether or not to publish this in the warning, and the second is whether or not the select board should take action beforehand or after as you go. So your esteemed colleague, Mr. Doobie suggested, with nothing to lose, to put it on. I would strongly encourage you to put it on the warning, and where the select board does take action, before, after, or during, what an opportunity for the select board to share that you guys have taken this under advisement, or you're in the act of taking it under advisement, to bring people along and share that there's been community discussion about this. So I would just encourage it.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a minute and just find out if there are other select board members who want to respond to Gavin, excuse me.
Yeah, I forget who I am sometimes.
What am I?
No, I think I appreciate
If
what you're saying.
you wanna wait, I'm not pushing this, but I'm just publicly stating right now, I would vote in favor of it. That's how I phrase it, I guess. I'm not gonna.
And we do have a discussion of this actually on the agenda.
Yeah.
Do we want to?
Yeah, that's why I'm a little conflicted. We're trying to,
So let's do it this way. First off, do we want to put it on the warning? That's the number 1 question we have to deal with. Straw poll, Gavin, do you want to put it on the warning?
Yes, I'd put it on, just so people are aware of it, and
Sure.
then we took some action on it.
Okay.
How about you?
And I would rather not. Just, it's gonna build more confusion and waste more of my time.
Okay.
I would rather speak to it at town meeting and tell people where we're at that point, how we got there.
And unfortunately, if we take a vote tonight, because we unfortunately don't have a full board, so it would have to be a unanimous vote in order to pass a motion, which already isn't. Also, there is an agenda item a little bit later that requires, discussion on this again.
So don't worry about that.
Yeah.
So at this point, my thought is, we've been advised not to put it on. I see both sides, why you would put it on, why you wouldn't. But I think it just leads to more confusion. I think we're better off to have this open communication with this involvement, to spread the word of what's going on, versus having everybody open up their town report and saying, this is how it is.
Would the select board like to speak to it in their remarks, in their report? Maybe speak to it in the report?
David, can you clarify what you just said? What do you mean that this is the way it is? What do you mean by that? I'm confused by what you're saying for a reason. Because you're suggesting that we just put it on as a discussion. We can continue to have the discussion until town meeting. That doesn't mean that you've made a decision, right? I'm not hearing, when could a decision be made? I'm feeling like.
well, wait, just to
Till after the
clarify.
town
So
meeting.
there's a couple different things. First thing is the warning. We're trying to get the warning. The warning is X. We're trying to make a decision about
Whether you're gonna
responding
add
to
this
the ballot.
warning or not.
And then on our agenda, we've got this Gavin's idea, our business to be, agenda item is planning and zoning board size. So, we don't have, here's where we're at right now, Mr. Chairman. Here's where we're at.
I'm just vice chairman filling in.
No, Mr. Chairman, here's where we're at.
So I'm wondering if we need to close comment on this agenda item, or if you would like to continue to have a discussion.
Yeah, no, I could make a motion and have a vote, but I think we just heard it's 2-1. So we don't have 3 votes, and with a 5-member board, 2 votes isn't good enough. So Unless, that's where we're at on the ballot warning. And then we can move on the agenda.
I think we can do both, right? We've been advised not to put an advisory item on our warning.
And yeah, and the reason for that, I understand it, is that it can make things confusing to the people who are voting, so.
Right. Between now and March, what I'm saying is, between now and March, we may be in a place where the discussion has nothing to do with that. We may have a 9-member board and 5 people waiting to jump on the board that are interested in being in it. So I would rather continue the discussion, make a point of one of us or one of you bringing it up at town meeting and giving a synopsis of where the discussion has come from August of last year to March town meeting day.
We had a similar situation last year with our warning where the listers were eliminated, and then we had as assessors as part of that. So at that moment when the listers were eliminated, then the next item was no longer valid. So if there's something on the warning that is no longer valid, then it can be eliminated. That's another way that we've done it in the past.
I just think it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot more transparent. It goes with the advice that we've asked for from the LCT. Does that make sense,
I would
Kathy?
strongly ask you to reconsider that, because I don't hear that the LCT is saying don't include it on the warning, which in this town we've come to think of as our agenda, if you will, at town meeting. It's very significant that 100-odd persons in our town agree on anything, right? Whether it's the dog catcher position or signing a petition.
No, we all agree that position.
There we go. So the very fact of, however you come out of how you feel about this amendment, and if you agree with it or you disagree with it, the very fact of is important, that in and of itself. And where the warning is thought of as an agenda, just including that, even where it's a non-binding item, I don't hear that the League of Cities and Towns is saying don't include it anywhere on the warning, just as a non-binding?
No, they're telling us not to put it on.
On the warning. Well, perhaps maybe include putting it on where the new business section is. But in any event, including the specificity of what has occurred. And again, there is such opportunity, even after the warning is published, to continue to have town discussion, select board discussion, and discussion at the town meeting, specifically about where you're at in that discussion. I just think it sends the wrong message where it's not expressly published after 100-odd people have come together in our town to write that, regardless of how people ultimately encourage you to vote or not to vote on that particular way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like I said, I can see both sides of it.
Can it be announced as a non-binding discussion? I mean, I feel like I've been to town meeting and heard those words before.
I believe, this is my interpretation. Anything that the board approves or takes care of, anything to get is a non-binding suggestion.
So the way it could be written is, can I read it? It could say something to the effect of, will the voters advise? Because it's an advisory, it would have to be advisory, which means that, because we can't,
Yeah.
So shall the voters advise the select board to increase the number of members on the zoning board from 5 to 7 or 9?
Yeah, you have to be specific, I guess, in that part.
And then it would be non-binding, and it would be obviously advisory. And then it would be a discussion point. So instead of.
Are you firm on yours? Because I'm gonna move this meeting.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I mean, we can visit this all the time, but.
We're gonna talk about it, I don't
So
care.
at this point, we can't take a.
There's a lot of room from here to now. I want it to be wide open at town meeting and have a discussion and get people involved. But I want it to be today on March 10th, or whatever day we're meeting, not January 12th.
I see.
wanna have a current discussion, not.
So we don't have enough votes, well, I just wanted, so people fully understand, we don't have enough votes to carry this.
To put it on the,
That's the way I understand it, so.
okay, so was there anything else on the, on your part of this that needs to be approved?
Well, are you going to do this?
Did you have enough signatures on that? I think there were two.
No. That one? I think there is. How many signatures are down in its top corner?
81.
Yeah, this is the one that there's not enough signatures on.
I see.
So this one is for changing the town planning?
No, the zoning bylaws, the,
That's
ZBA
basically saying,
And
we
again, this is
encourage,
another non-binding.
this is.
a non-binding resolution that would encourage dialogue
And it
to
would.
reconcile it, says
Yeah, just a minute though,
dialogue.
we need to, so this is a non-binding one, similar to, not similar, but in the vein of the other one,
It's advisory.
advisory. And this is about getting together and trying to get funds together to the grant we didn't get.
So it suggests that there be a discussion. So it assumes that there's maybe not having enough of a discussion, I believe, or something. So I'm not 100% clear.
Would one of the members that put this together address this?
I'll speak to it, although Tori would be better, but the way I understood that, the public's become very, very fluent in the zoning regs and the town plan, like, very fluent. And there are certain things, certain places that they don't jive, like if you're gonna be an all agricultural, all in on agriculture, like our town plan is, there are certain parts in our development regs that don't, like we're a 1 acre town, we should be a 5 acre town if we're gonna be that all in on the town plan. Now, I'm not the expert on this, but Tori has spoken to a whole lot of people, you know, he's a civil engineer, he's on the Corps of Engineers, so he knows all kinds of things and knows how to research things. And apparently, all we really wanna do is make sure that our town plan and the zoning development regs match. That's all anybody I've ever talked to wants, is that the regs are something everybody can stand on, both feet, little to nothing to be interpreted, and when they both match, there's some things, I think there was a template eventually used. This is again my interpretation of how it went, maybe Melissa can fill in the blanks. But apparently you start something like this with a template, and there are a few places in there. I found personally myself typos and things like that. But we'd like to open the zoning regs and make sure that they are as efficient to use for the board in decision-making as they possibly can be, and that they're in line with the town plan as it stands, our being a town that's all in on agriculture and protecting that part of our culture in this town. So that's it. I don't think anybody's wanting to fundamentally change anything. I think they just want to make sure that this document can stand on its own and as our zoning board can be supported in making their decisions by it.
So regarding, thank you. So regarding this item though, on the warning, the question, the way it's worded, sounds as if there's no discussion being had. And remember, we've written the grant, we didn't get the grant, we have a meeting, we're gonna talk about the results of that, well, not a meeting, but we had a dialogue with Northwest Regional Planning to find out what happened. We also have we have to talk about what we're gonna do with the surplus. So this meeting is continuing that conversation. But the question is, do we, as it's written, put that on the agenda, assuming that, the way it's written, it says, shall we do this? And the question is, do we want to put
But
that?
it's an advisory vote.
Right.
There's no shall.
So how is it
All it
written?
can do is
Exactly.
suggest and inspire the board to accept it.
Shall the town of Fairfield discuss that there is an inconsistency between the town of Fairfield's land use regulations and the town of Fairfield's town plan that prioritizes the protection and ongoing use of agricultural lands?
So shall they, so it's an advisory vote, you can put it on, it doesn't matter either way, we're working on it, we're already having the discussion, so it wouldn't change what we're already doing, except that now everybody's said that they agree with that.
So I guess, take a vote on this. Do you want this on your town report for your agenda? What it boils down to, right?
And they said this also, they revised against this.
It's an advisory, so you have the decision-making.
Right, I mean, it's a
On whether or
non-binding
not.
vote, but I guess what I'm asking is, do you want this petition put forth onto your town report?
Yeah, I don't, like, using the
How do you
same
even
logic.
write it?
What's that? No, here's what it would say, is that,
Right.
Yeah.
that last,
There.
you know, right there. So,
Okay.
If we're turning a blind eye to everything and not participating or encouraging dialogue, I get it, but they're both, we're doing this, we're trying. I'd rather put one thing on that says the select board's talking about zoning and planning commission regulations. I mean,
And we could,
It's not.
you could add the word continue. And then it would be shall the voters, you know, advise, whatever, to continue the discussion.
How do you want to handle it, Jimmy?
I'd put it on. I just, you know, you know, in the, once again, the advice of Vermont League says is advisory. It's just a discussion. The select board has the distinction. The petition should be, he says, recommend going to the planning and zoning. But you know what? If, I guess along the logic, if that many people have signed a petition, if we've resolved it, it's a non-issue. So
I will go with this one, because this is about the zoning and town plan and regulations. That's something that the committee, it's beyond just state statute, so I'll put this one on.
So, do we need to make a motion to accept this one on to the town?
No, you can direct the
To
town
just
clerk
direct,
to do that.
to add that one to it?
what's that? You okay?
Yeah, let me go see if I can do this.
Was that,
I
was that
hope.
was that the only other piece that you?
I hope to help.
Okay, so now, I guess we should
What's the next agenda?
Do that.
Charlene Pector.
Oh, in fact, yes,
Oh, yeah, so Charlene, had,
this is not.
this is similar, there was a petition that you had brought.
Yeah,
Did you want to speak?
yeah, we both speak. So we ran out of time because we had like a couple weeks to get these. So we took one weekend and went house to house along with other people that we knew, but, so if we had another week or a week and a half, we would have had well over what we needed to get that, approved.
But you don't
Or on
have,
the ballot, I should say.
but you don't have enough on this, right? Is that-
Not on that one, no. Because we had to hand it in last Thursday, we thought we had more time.
Okay.
So we're basically, are asking what our next step is, to pursue it.
Every person we talked to was all for it except for one lady. She didn't even know what a side-by-side was.
So just for the public, let me read what you wrote here. So, shall the voters direct the Fairfield Selectboard to enact an ordinance allowing registered ATVs and side-by-sides to be operated on Class 2 and 3 town highways in Fairfield? So you're saying that most people that signed this were for it?
Everybody's for it.
And they're all age levels, young, old, no age. There's one person that was very outspoken about not allowing VASA, which we don't care about the VASA, we just want to be allowed to ride on the roads. It could be Fairfield registered, Fairfield, people, or we're at the point where they'd be allowable.
So legally, how do we handle this one?
So
Because
there weren't enough
there wasn't enough
to put it on.
signatures on the
Right.
petition to have it.
Right, so At this time, you don't have enough signatures to put it on the warning, so it wouldn't be on the warning. Next steps would be up to the select board about if you'd like to continue to have this discussion or not. And that would be for an agenda to be determined. It's not on the agenda today to determine whether or not to do this.
So as it stands now, this won't be included in the town?
It won't be on
the agenda.
On the agenda, but it's on, actually it is on the agenda tonight to discuss
Right,
next
but the
steps.
town meeting is not.
Right, exactly. So just like before, you know, the select board can decide to make an ordinance or not, or direct me to make an ordinance or not, and it would be something that would need to be discussed and crafted. So I think Charlene is asking whether or not the select board wants to do anything with this at this time.
Charlie did a little bit of research too. He made some phone calls to the game wardens and state police to, you can speak on that time.
If you want somebody to ride the road, whatever, you need to get VASA in here. Because VASA pays for the game wardens to patrol. But Bakersfield doesn't like VASA because they claim so many people, they ruin their roads. They like it, they just give permission with a sticker. Stickers cost 18 cents. That like be your cost, per se. One through, I can't remember.
$10.
I was gonna say, what they charge, $10?
$10.
Yeah, it's $10 for each person to buy a sticker.
With an application.
Right.
What are we talking about here? Are we talking about that, or are we talking about whether it gets on the town meeting?
No, it's really the select board is just.
At this time, there's not enough people on registered voters on that petition to go on. But the select board could decide to have it come on.
Or
take a vote or whatever.
Decide to pick up this piece of.
Right.
So Charlene spoke to us in the past. They've come here and they've discussed their ideas with us a few times, I think 2 or 3 times. So there's this ongoing discussion about whether or not the town should have 4-wheelers and side-by-sides, and there hasn't been a determination that we should make a policy on this yet, or at all. And so the select board needs to decide whether they want to table this agenda item and continue a conversation later, or do something about it. But it's not about putting it on the agenda for town meeting. This is not when there's a discussion, the select board can receive conversation with people about their ideas and consider whether or not to make things happen in town. And that's what this is happening. This is just the follow-up for that. And unfortunately, you didn't have, it sounds like, enough time to get signatures. So the question is, do we continue the conversation, or do we table it today and pick it up later, or does the select board want to direct me to do something?
Suggestions, gentlemen?
I think at this point, we keep looking, and, I mean, like, there's still a lot of unknown information, so we should get Charlie and Charlene on the agenda some night when it's not a packed house, and sit down and start.
So the select board is suggesting that I place them on the agenda at a time that works for you to talk more about the details that you're bringing up about this. Okay.
When will the public discussion happen?
It's always, so whenever it's on, if it's on.
I'm hearing you say not packed house, so I'm just wondering, is it mean we're not?
Packed agenda.
No,
We have
just
a very
packed
packed agenda.
agenda.
We have appointments and we
No.
have all kinds of things. So
How do we know?
He's trying to be respectful.
it would be posted.
Yeah, no, he's trying to be respectful. Yeah.
So usually if somebody brings something up and it is supposed to go onto an agenda at a later date, I will work with that person on identifying what date would make sense. So if it's a really packed agenda, then I will say, does this other date work for you? And that's what we're saying. You know, it sounds like we're tabling it for today, we're gonna put it on another agenda, and then
It'll be warned
posted.
in the minutes of another meeting, and
Right.
just one where there's not 25 other topics warned for that night.
Yeah, we understand.
So in the meantime, is there something that we can do to, help you make your decision?
Well, I know one thing you could do is that it's been suggested to other groups at town meeting, have a petition right there with you. I know for Home Health and Cat Crusaders and all these folks, they were complaining, you know, about getting signatures, and it was suggested, have it at a town meeting when you actually got a large group of people there.
For the next
year. It won't be this year, but it'll be
Right.
for next year if something doesn't get in between, but you'd have a signature. You could possibly get enough signatures to meet what's demanded.
Because we would have got them this time if we had more time.
Yeah.
So can we do it, do we have to, so we can do it from now until next year's town meeting? to
Yeah,
get
well, this,
Definitely.
yeah.
all the signatures you need, but.
But it can be on, I guess, under old business, it can be discussed, right? What do you think?
So we could have a conversation about this at a select board meeting
Yeah.
at more of a different thing.
But I'm just giving you a heads up, that'd be one way to make sure you had enough petitions if you wanna make sure it was on next year's town meeting agenda. That you had it right there at town meeting when people are there. We've encouraged other people that had wanted things done to be there, there's enough people. It's kind of a cross section of folks in town.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Now, there is one thing that gave more, I talked to Sergeant
I
Colonel
wrote this
Reed.
to you as a call, I don't know. if
She
it's a-
said
It's a
we
PDF.
could ask
I can
you
just forward it to you
for
as a PDF too.
just our side-by-side permission through the town. She said it might save a lot of hassle, so they get 100 people or whatever riding around.
Yeah. She might know more about it than I do, because I don't know about that.
So I don't know.
I guess it needs something, kind of statute or something that would say that the town can do that. It's the first I've ever heard of that, so.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't, do you know anything?
No, there's a lot of questions, you know, like solid axles, turn radiuses, you know, like stability. I know some towns won't allow to go on, there's a lot of questions.
Right.
And if we gave an individual authority to go on the road, and God forbid there was, I mean,
There's a lot of.
we just discussed insurance, so.
So it's not.
We'll put this on a future agenda. We need, you know, like to do our own research, because I'm way out of my league for, you know, for like implications for what a select board, you know, what authority, you know, like what
Is
a
it
game.
covered by the new insurance?
Yeah, so, well, exactly. I mean, those are the kind of due diligence, we got some due diligence, so put it on agenda, future agenda item, and
Then we'll have a
we'll,
full discussion.
Okay, so you're afraid that if you're doing an ordinance, that you're gonna, town's gonna be responsible for any injuries or any.
I'm not afraid of anything, I just, what I'm saying is, I'm way out of my comfort zone as one member to say yes to a subject that I have no
We
idea.
don't know the liability that goes on to the town. Usually, if there's a way to find it, they'll go out to the town.
We had a truck that caught on the power line that took out some windshields that, you know, that's on us. So there's all kind, you know, one of our, so.
That wasn't proven that that was the right height of the line either.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just saying.
All sorts of.
What's that?
You own that truck.
Right, you're right.
You own the side-by-side.
So,
Right.
the really, it's so complicated. I mean, there has to be a conversation about insurance, there has to be a conversation of probably about enforcement, how do we do that? If there has to be more of a conversation about where do we go from here, and all of that deserves more time. And you should absolutely have time to do that.
But if you're in
But
Bassett,
today, we
you
wouldn't
have
have time to do that, so I would be
Yeah,
happy
but
to.
Bassett isn't asking us
on the
for a
agenda.
letter, you know, like grant a letter to run a snow machine on our, you know, in our town. So I just,
We need to focus.
we're not
on
saying no, we're just saying,
No, that's different, Vasa and Vasta.
Yeah.
okay,
One's
They're two
four-wheelers
different,
and.
snowmobiles and then
snowmobiles.
side-by-sides.
right.
But,
All right, put us
Well-
on the agenda for next time then.
Yeah, why don't you and I talk about what works for you, and we'll make
okay,
sure.
so we need to get moving along here. We want
Thank
to.
you.
Yeah, let's move along.
Yeah, thank you for coming. And so, we got to interview, we got 3 people to interview, is that correct? For zoning?
Yes, so the next item is planning and zoning board size. Does the select board want to increase the planning and zoning board to 7 or 9?
Well, I'd like to do interviews first.
And then, okay,
Yes.
so we can switch that around.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I have,
I guess first we should ask, there's 3 people, right, that want to interview?
Mr. Persons?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you want them in an open meeting or these interviews, or how do you want to do it?
Well, we would prefer an open meeting. If that's uncomfortable for anyone, we could accommodate, you know, because But we would prefer it to be an open meeting if you're comfortable with that.
I'm fine with that.
You are? Vanessa?
Yeah, I'm comfortable.
There was there,
Great that an interview to serve.
so there's also, yeah, great. So the other suggestion is, for fairness of all of the candidates, that when one interview takes place, it would be your choice to go to the next room so that each person has their own uninfluenced by the other person answers. So that's completely your choice, and it's a kind thing to do.
It's totally, well, isn't it up to the
It's up to
interviews?
them.
If you guys are all comfortable,
Sure.
if you're comfortable, we just don't want anybody to say, well, geez, they kind of put me on the spot or something, you know? This way here, everybody's got the same thing going.
So before we do this, what are we currently looking for? We have one opening on the current zoning board as it stands.
That's correct.
Okay.
And we've changed the agenda to do the interviews before discussing the size of the zoning.
So would one like to start first? Might as well come right up here and make yourself at home.
Let's do it.
Yeah, there's gonna be this, we're gonna ask like 2 questions. They're gonna be the same questions there.
You're right,
Like,
whatever gets asked.
Tell us
should be
about
asked.
yourself and tell us why you're interested in serving on our planning and zoning.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Oh, yeah. Do you have your mugshot with you, or?
Okay. That's a third question that hasn't been.
I'm Dan Pipes. I put some time into a letter. I hope you've had a chance to read it. It explains basically who I am, what I have for experience. And I'm not gonna belabor all of that. If you have any questions on that, I'd be glad to address them. Why I'd like to serve, I'm retired. Our kids are grown and gone and doing well. I've got some time. I do serve on other boards. I enjoy doing that, and I think I'm at a point in my life where I can give something back to the community.
I had a chance to read your letter. I'm not sure that our vice chair, he might have questions on your.
Of course.
Let's do the back page.
Did you want to talk about your experience a little bit?
Certainly, I can. I had 31 years in the Army, retired as a colonel, been to the Army War College, got a master's degree in strategic planning, national security, 3 combat tours, 2 in Afghanistan, 1 in Iraq, spent some time in the Balkans and Africa, of course, as well. 2 daughters. My wife is a registered nurse. She's the coach of the varsity girls lacrosse team down at BFA. We've been here for over 30 years, set our roots down pretty firmly. Really enjoy being a part of this town. It's a very special place to be. I don't know, I haven't reread the letter since I sent it in. I think I'm on the board of elders at our church. I'm on the board at the National, the NRCD, the National Resource Conservation District. Every county has those, and I'm on the board of directors for Franklin County. To that end, as an example of what I do for them, this morning there was a legislative breakfast, and we went to Enosburg and met with the legislators and explained what it is that they do and thank them for their support in previous years and hope that they'll. So anyway, I enjoy being active in the community. I'm in a pretty nice spot where, hey, if you can use me on the board, that's great. And if you can't, you know, my lower lip's not gonna start quivering. I'm glad to help. This is me getting involved if you'd like me to be a part of it. Question for me, gentlemen?
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Sounds like a dog catcher to me.
Right, we did add that to the Central letter / dog catcher.
Additional duties of the.
/ dog catcher, it's part of the deal now. So
Brian's
I think the planning and zoning board is gonna rotate along, one doesn't want to.
Additional duties as assigned.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the catch-all.
Yeah.
So, I know we've spent a lot of time here today, if there are no questions.
That's great. No, that's great. Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Yes, well, Vanessa, would you?
Okay, thanks, I appreciate the word is. So, tell me again what your questions?
Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us why you're interested.
And your dog catching abilities.
My dog catching abilities, first and foremost. I did share a letter with Kathy, did that go to the board?
Yes.
You had that, so I think it included a brief overview of some high points of why I sent my letter in to offer service and my resume. I'm here because I love Fairfield, deeply love Fairfield. I think that's probably echoed in all of the people in this room. I'm sure it is, but that's in part why I offer to serve. I feel strongly about being able, if you can help, do it. I own my own business that's in this county. As well, I elected to raise my family here and be married and live in this town. I'm so grateful to be back. I grew up here and came back to do those things, have a business and have my family here. I think what I can bring to the office and why I would submitted my name is I have an undergraduate degree from Reed College out in Portland, Oregon. And then I served in the federal level. I was a speechwriter to a cabinet level secretary. And then I went to law school at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. I earned my master's degree. I got a twofer. My parents were very pleased. It was a 2-for-1 kind of degree. My doctorate in law, my JD, along with a master's in bioethics, because I was very interested in agriculture and wanted to talk about bioethics in the frame of agriculture. I came back to Vermont to practice and met my husband here in Fairfield and delighted to be able to live here. What I can offer is my experience in board service. I've served on a lot of boards. My legal background, I'm fully immersed in the work that I do in reading law closely, working with a lot of diverse clients, people from all walks of life, really, and my interest in process. And I think that's largely what has driven my offer to help if I can. It's so important to build public trust that process is followed, that there's clarity and transparency and energy around that everybody can count on, that there's a process and it works. Because when it doesn't, one of the terrible symptoms of the system is people get cynical. They feel like they have no ability to take part and be part of the effort. So my interest in offer to help, if I can, serve on this board would be to help make sure that we're infusing the process with process, minding the rules. Any particular questions, or how can I illuminate any part of that?
How about, you've got a lot going on, can you, the time required to be at meetings and whatnot? I mean, part of this discussion is, can we meet quorums, can we get people involved?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Yes. I certainly run a business. I'm a family member. Like many of us, we wear a lot of hats in our community. I serve on other boards in leadership positions and just as a board member. But yeah, my offer to serve comes with a commitment to understand that this is no small thing. You've got to attend meetings, get informed. I think there's also great resources both in this community. People, there's a wealth of experience and energy to rely on, to support for showing up at those meetings and learning more, but as well statewide resources to learn more about how to be a better board member or even within the specific lane of planning and zoning about how to get that done and done effectively so we're not always reinventing the wheel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I would suggest, no, sorry, thank you. I would
Fine
suggest
job interview.
that the select board also ask the previous candidate, Dan,
that same question about
You
availability.
spoke to him pretty clearly, unless you want to add to it this time.
Yeah,
I got it.
we got it.
Okay.
With the exception of
Deer season?
right about pre-November to about 12 November, we're gonna be in Illinois. Don and I go out to bow hunt. So there's one wind month where there's a window where it'll be a little problematic.
Come on up, Don.
All right, hi, thanks for letting me speak with you folks. So my name's Don Wells. I've lived in Fairfield for about 22, 23 years. Grew up in Sheldon actually, and my family moved to Fairfield, and then I went off to college and became an accountant, was a CPA, worked for P.E.G, and after that kind of moved on. I actually worked for IBM for years. Then got in the insurance business. Actually, ironically, I know that gentleman didn't know me, but I used to be the CFO for Hub Insurance.
Oh, wow.
They're a very good company, so very good service.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This isn't a paid advertisement.
I'm actually with the competitor.
Why did you?
You better tell me to sharpen his price on cyber, he's done.
No, I actually, so, well, it's funny because we are competitors, but we're, our agency, so actually I should say, when I left Hub, a bunch of us left to start our own insurance company. It's a long history of why, no issues there. But so I was a business owner with a bunch of other gentlemen we went about 10 years, and then we sold our agency to Assured Partners. And Assured Partners and Hub are our competitors, but we specialize in truck insurance, so they do kind of dabble in, municipalities and stuff like that. So, basically, I guess the reason I, came and put my name forward, I was aware of the petition to expand the board, and I had been thinking for a while, like, I'm not, these two are a tough act to follow. I haven't been really served on boards, but I just kind of wanted to get involved. I love Fairfield. I mean, I love my life here, and it feels like it would be nice to give back a little bit. And knowing that there was a potential of the board expanding, I thought, hey, I want you guys to not be able to find the bodies. In my career as an accountant, a lot of compliance. I did a lot of auditing, which tends to a lot of reading, rules, regulations, making sure things are compliant, and that's kind of my intent, as serving the community. Is just I don't really come in with any agenda. I just would like to put those skills forward to try to just help sure that whatever rules that we have in place are being followed, and just help out in any way I can. So and I
alter your deer hunting schedule.
The Illinois one's a tough one to miss, but no. Otherwise, I'm basically not 8 to 5 kind of guy. So it seems like most of the meetings are in the evenings. I live literally a mile and a half down the road, so I think availability shouldn't be a problem. That's
Good, thank you.
Okay, any questions, Jeff?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
So the suggestion is either go into an executive session.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in executive session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or do you want to go into the executive session?
No, we'll do that.
Okay. Up to you.
So I guess, guys, we're gonna have to ask you to leave for a few more minutes. To
Oh, no, you gonna do it right now?
Well, it's up to you guys. I would try to just roll with it.
Okay, yeah, okay. I was thinking we have executive session, we have a couple more.
Do you wanna do it or not? You guys tell me. I'm not pushing one way or the other.
I was thinking I'm open-minded, but I thought we'd do it per the agenda.
Okay, so if we make a decision, then we inform whoever we chose. Is that how you wanna do it?
Yeah.
Okay? Sit your butts down. We're moving along.
You can stay and wait and find out if the appointment has been made later, or you have every right to leave, and I would contact you tomorrow. So either way.
So are we gonna talk about expanding the board?
That's the next item on the agenda.
If you wanna talk about this now, Dave? You guys tell me, now you wanna keep this going?
Yeah, that's what everybody's here to discuss.
I make a motion, we increase the planning and zoning board from 5 to 7.
I'd second that. And as the chairman, I can do that, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So I guess, take a vote on it. But everybody's gotta be, the 3 of us that are here have to.
Yeah, we've gotta have 3. no pressure.
So if you don't, we'll just.
No, I wanna,
And I say that, Dave, for the, if we've got a second, so the discussion is, 2 months from now, we could change it. We go to 10, we go to 9, we go to 15, we go to 2, or we go to, you know, we have some flexibility. So,
would you rather change it now to 7 and not be able to fill it? Or to fill it and have somebody disappear in a month and...
I get the impression there'll be many more that might step up to the plate if we should come up short on numbers for 7 at this point.
I would be curious about our current chair's opinion of that subject. You know, like.
This is the most excitement and interest that we've had in a long time, and I think we need to pounce on it in a big way.
What about dynamics of running a bigger, with the, like?
I'm not concerned about dynamics.
Okay.
These are all people who have the same goal in mind. They all want the best thing for our town. And the more diverse opinions we have, the smarter we'll all be in the end. So I'm not concerned about it at all. Thank you for asking.
Okay.
Well, myself, I went to the last meeting just to hear different people's opinions and ideas of how they interpret different things, you know. And everyone's got a different outlook on things. But I know, like myself, you know, it was a young fellow who hadn't got his stuff in alignment. But, you know, there's a piece of pasture that has some prime ag soil in it. But again, I'm looking at, just from a farm view, running a farm, it's like, man, nobody's never going to go in there unless somebody wants a small garden. You know, those kinds of things I think have to be taken into consideration. There's always some variables, doesn't matter what it is, but it's nice to know, okay, this is checked off, this is checked off, those kinds of things. So do you want to delay, or do you want to?
I'd also like to give the other members of the board a chance to weigh in.
Will we be interviewed again by the other members of the board, or?
Different subject.
Different subject matter.
Different subject. We're gonna act. So we have on the, just for clarity, and I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but we had an executive session for personnel later in the agenda. So not to clear the room and have a so we're gonna discuss the interviews tonight, but
There's a vacancy, one vacancy on the board right now.
Sure, but there's 22 more and it'd be at 7. Hire all 3 of them.
So what's, you guys are all in your part of the conversation. What's everybody's thoughts?
There were 100 people who signed a petition.
Yeah.
100+ people who signed a petition to say.
I can find 100 people that think it's a good idea for you to be the dog catcher too.
I've seen it already. Here we go. It's not my
Excuse me, but it's already been put in / dog catcher with the position.
No, I wanna hear what people think. This is a discussion, not a Kathy.
My understanding a little earlier was that the select board actually can, if this can be fairly flexible. So you my view of it is you've got some people biting at the bit a little bit to get involved. And I agree with Melissa's support in her word she used of, you got people wanting it, we probably should jump on it. It sounds to me like if there is a time when there's a lack in that, then it could be readjusted. So why not have the public involvement while you got it? Would be my question.
In the back.
Yeah, and I would also say if a year ago, the community was asked to sort of put an effort and get excited about the zoning and planning, this is 100 people getting excited about something, and 3 incredibly great candidates sitting in front of you that are ready to serve our community, that are excited about this community in a way that's, I think, really important. And I think we should respect and honor our stepping up to the plate when you guys asked us to last year.
Also, I think something that Gavin just said, we can't overlook that. You know, there's probably more people. Look at the names of the 100 people that signed. There's some good people there. You might be able to find 5 more tomorrow if they knew that you guys were open to that. So I think that you gotta take advantage of abundance when it comes your way, and there's no problem flexing back the other direction?
Now, let's say that, the only thing I question is, say we do go to 7. Do we have to reopen people coming into interview? We could, one of these 3 we could select for the board now.
No.
So we wouldn't have to, as long as it's been a public meeting, everything's been
Yeah, if there's vacancies
publicly
on the
done.
board, we will
Okay.
have interviews, we can.
Okay, that's all I wanna make sure that we
Yeah.
properly followed up on.
And I remember Melissa a while, at one of our meetings saying, and it kind of stuck with me, Melissa, when we were all in this room, and you said you've been here 23 years and you've never seen so many people here to talk about the town plan. And then you talked about how glad you're all here, we gotta start somewhere in getting people involved. It was gotta start somewhere. And that stuck with me. And I feel like this is the start of good things in Fairfield. And not the start, the continuation, there's been very good things, don't get me wrong on that. But a good start of getting another group of people involved and having experience and learning the process as they go, because some will be very fresh and new. So I really feel like it's
Just so, for a little clarification, I'd like to know, at this point, you've got a major application on the board. Say people get appointed, how does that work for them at this point?
We actually have a question out on that right now.
We don't have a final answer. The best answer that we can give at this moment is that on anything that has transpired prior to their appointment, they cannot participate. We think that if a same project moves to a next step, we think they will be able to participate in that, but we are waiting for a legal opinion. We don't have a final answer.
Okay. That's what I kinda wanted to know.
And next steps would be that.
And let's try to be agnostic about that and be really respectful about that.
Oh, we're not going into specifics,
No,
but I just wanna make sure people that come on, we're aware of what point they can become active in it or voting members on a decision of something of that nature.
And I'm just reiterating what we just heard. We've got some preliminary advice, counsel. We're gonna follow it to the letter of the law. And we're gonna be respectful to everyone.
Absolutely.
I think there's also language like the Municipal Administrative Procedures Act, the MAPPA, that gives guidance that it's not appropriate for someone joining a board to take up an action item if they haven't sat through the deliberations on that. So you don't come in medias res and make a call, you've gotta be there for the full.
And don't crucify me for going slow and asking questions, right? A wave of excitement has 100 people in the room, and this has been 9 months, a year. That's, a fair amount of time, but in the span of doing these things, that's not huge. So I just wanna make sure we approach it from not the peak of the wave, I want the crest of the wave. Who's gonna be here in a year? I don't wanna appoint somebody, have the board go through getting one of these applicants, up to speed and running, and then, boy, this isn't that exciting, this is just sheds and porches,
Hey, somebody with sheds and porches.
I'm partially lean-tos myself.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to see, I have time and energy vested in boards and groups and committees, and there's always a wave of fresh people when there's a great idea or something exciting. I think we should capture it, but we don't want to just pick off the top of the wave, we want to raise the level of attendance.
Dave, I would say a couple of things. One, I hear your apprehension a little bit about the larger the board, the more discussion that goes on, the harder it is to make decisions.
Well, I'm not even arguing that way.
No, but in terms of, the more people you get, the more, which I think personally right now, to Melissa's point, and I totally agree with Melissa on this, is the diversity on the board I think is important right now. Because I do think the town is going through some changes, and I think that's part of what has sparked the interest here. Because what does our future hold? What direction are we kind of going to go into? And so I think that this is an opportunity, since there are people that are involved in a lot of different aspects of life in terms of what they do and what they can bring to the board, that we should capture it while we can. Because I think one of those deals is if you don't capture it when you can, when are you going to capture it? You're not. And so if you don't open your arms and let people in and say you want them to be actively involved and then you shut them down, then when are they gonna become actively involved? And because the flexibility here in terms of numbers is so kind of easily adjusted, it doesn't have to be voted on every year at the town meeting and stuff like that. You guys can just make that decision. I don't think that you have any harm in moving forward in that direction. And I'm not saying you should go from 5 to 15. But to add a couple more for the diversity and some of the issues that are going on right now in town that we all are aware of, I do think it's important to have as many, voices heard as we can, because it's going to shape our future. And for me personally, some of you, Gavin heard me the other day rant about the farmland. Once the farmland's gone, it's gone. There is no bringing it back. You're not going to tear down houses and go back into agriculture. And when you're competing with construction companies and big money companies coming in to develop, you are not going to be able to compete as a farmer if our vision as a town, and this is my vision, but it's the town that's going to make the decision, not me, to stay in ag, then we need to make it so that ag can be successful here. So those are things that I think that the zoning have a lot of discussions to have over the course of the next year or two or whatever it comes to. So I would encourage you to consider going a little bit larger so that we get more voices on the board to be heard and to have that discussion a little broader.
So can I do a straw poll?
We have a motion on the table and a second, so it would be a vote at this point.
Yeah, let's be careful about, inputs are good.
Yep.
So the motion is now, we make a move to go to 7 members on this planning zone.
It's
been seconded, we've discussed it, we need to call a vote on it. So, how do you vote?
I guess I will vote no until I have enough more questions. I'm 100% for it, but one of my hang-ups would be, how do we go about filling the other 2 seats?
So we
Three
have
applicants right now.
We have 3 applicants right now.
Do we take those? And don't take this personally, but I hate that. Don't take this personally, but.
Let's not talk about, let's try to keep it.
No, I am, that's what I'm saying.
So to clarify, we do have we have one empty seat right now, and we have 3
Correct.
people interested in it.
Correct. So I'm just curious, to be fair to everybody in town, everything, do we advertise that, hey, we're going from a 5-person board to a 7-person board? Is anybody interested in being appointed to one of these?
I don't think we've ever advertised for anything.
We have actually, we have advertised and never, in 20+ years.
I was gonna say, in the time that
Never.
I've been here, we've advertised
And we have never
actively.
had this kind of interest. I really strongly suggest that you jump on it, so we don't lose it. Because if you keep telling people no, 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 then they're gonna go away, and that's not what we want.
I'm not saying no, I'm not saying go away. I wanna make sure we do it the right way. I wanna make sure we have.
So if I'm saying, you're saying no on the vote, because there's 3 of us here, we all have to be in a group. So if your answer is no, we just need to know, and then we'll have to push off, then we can go make an appointment of 1. And then the next meeting or something, we can bring this back up again.
Yeah, if you vote no tonight, it doesn't kill the issue.
Yeah, no, let's.
Can I ask a clarification? I'd be curious to do public.
Well, we're in the middle of a vote, we ended discussion on it, so we're on a vote right now.
So, I will vote to go to the 7 with the caveat that we look at how we fill the additional 2 seats.
So what you'd like, just so we're.
I'd like to amend the motion.
Okay.
To say that we will look to go,
Publicize.
We'll go from a 5 to a 7-person board.
But publicize.
And no, let them speak it.
And seek more candidates for those 2 seats?
Yes, we won't fill those seats at this point. At our next meeting, we'll determine the criteria to fill the other 2 seats. Does that make sense?
So are you willing to second that?
I have a point of order question, actually. So if we have 7 people, on the board, that we're going to 7 people, and we have 3 people interested who we've just interviewed for a board position.
Or one board position?
If we go to 7 people in this vote, and so if if we have one seat, then it's a 5-person board.
Mhm.
If we have 3 seats, then it's a 7-person board. So if we have a board of 7 people at this point, and we've already interviewed 3 people.
No, the motion is gonna be to move to a 7-person board.
After you appoint a person to the 5-person board.
I don't know, it's kind of getting complicated.
Yeah, of course it is.
Let's just go. I'm gonna go no. Next meeting, I wanna give the chair a chance to chime in, and I want to structure how those additional 2 seats are filled.
So as we are now, this motion has failed. Okay, and we want to brought up at the next meeting, the vote on planning and zoning, expanding the board. So it's in our agenda for next meeting.
Okay, that's good. Got it, thank you.
Okay, so
So
now,
next-
I make a motion, we approve the minutes from 8 January.
second, will you second that? So-
Yep.
You have to second that?
Yep.
Is there anything we need amended or changed?
I didn't see it.
If there isn't, there's a vote. Oh, there's a vote on it to get it. Everybody's happy? Okay, so what do you do with this?
I have an amendment, no, it's not an amendment, but I need to read in a correction to the minutes of 12/18 from the library regarding their 2024 budget discussion. On page 1 and I'll give this to you, on page 1 under item 1, the 3rd sentence should begin by stating their total budget is at a 0.3% increase.
I fixed that already.
Instead of, it's not, it's still.
Still wrong?
It's still, as far, the one that was provided to everybody had that in it, and they, instead of saying their total budget is at a 2% increase.
I thought she told me and I fixed it.
Okay. So this, because it was approved in the last meeting, that, I believe we just need to.
I approved, the one that was approved was the one that was here.
Was corrected.
On paper, it was corrected.
It was corrected.
It was corrected. Sarah caught it when I emailed it out.
Okay.
And I just changed it and printed the corrected one. That's what I brought here. That's what approved.
Awesome.
So it doesn't.
I take it back. I take it back. Thank you.
Yeah, she caught it in advance.
We'll have to wait till actually take our votes.
So
I'll send it to you just in case.
Okay.
So you can look at it and make sure, but Sarah,
Okay.
I'm sure the one that was approved was the one that was here.
Okay.
And I fixed it.
Okay, that's good. So, yeah, so update on the common school, there will be a recommendation to the select board on the public meetings that have been taking place about that February 12th, at the February 12th meeting, Julie will probably come in. There were minutes from their most recent meeting that I'll submit to you in preparation for that conversation. Ronnie Bokash has been attending them, so we have had select board representation there. And the only other things that I had on my report were what we have done today. And also the budget and planning and zoning issues, which are under old business, so I could just go right into those if you want.
So do you have anything else, or is that it?
It's just the planning and zoning grant update and then the budget surplus conversation.
Okay, could somebody make a motion to approve the warrants?
So be it.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Everybody in favor?
In favor.
So get that out of the way.
All right, so the planning and zoning grant, as you know, was not approved. The outline was pretty clear that it was gonna be aligning the land use regulations with the town plan. There was, I think, a 6-point plan on that, that was outlined with contracting, basically contracting with Northwest Regional Planning Commission. And there has been some discussion about recognizing or or determining next steps with Northwest Regional Planning, even though that was not funded. Did you want to give an update on why it wasn't funded, or
I haven't heard it yet.
Okay.
We've asked.
So what we got was, there's just so much more
No, the
demand
question that we
Yeah.
asked wasn't why it wasn't funded. The question was, what can we do going forward to
Right.
better prepare ourselves? And Chuck is involved in that conversation, and Doug Grant, and you, thankfully, with Greta.
Right, and so what we do know is the reason that we didn't get the grant was in this cycle was because there were so many applicants, and there was a huge amount, and they said it had good merit. So it wasn't because it was a weak concept, it was because it was just outrun by the demand.
Did Steve do that?
Steve wrote that. Steve wrote that, yes.
Good.
Grant writer, yeah. So this kind of leads, did you have any questions for me about any of that? Where we are with that?
Nope.
Okay. So the total amount there was $16,224 to contract for that project. And that's where we are with that. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about is the current surplus that has been identified preliminarily by our auditors. And also that I submitted, thank you. That I submitted a $34,000 reimbursement to FEMA for administrative costs on the Jouer Road and Halloween storm corrections to our roads.
Thank you for the opportunity, excuse me.
So I gave you the proposed town budget as it was written in this packet. I've also highlighted some areas where we would want to. Oh, yes, that's it. And mine has my name on it. That's why I put my name on it. So there are a few budget pieces that need to change based on new information. Just going down through the budget. The first piece of information is under state aid to highway. Remember I had mentioned that $112,706 came in from the V-Trans allotment to our class 2 and 3 roads early. The state of Vermont did that thinking they were going to be helpful, and it made a little bit of a conundrum on how do we use that in the next fiscal year. The auditors are going to make a journal entry with us so that we can apply that funding to next year. So it's not being accounted for in the 2023 year. It's going to be in the 2024 year. So I made that change to line 10.50015 to show that that's what the auditors are suggesting we do. Do you have any questions on that? No? Okay, and going down to reflect that, if you look at this, the back page of that, so the second page is on the back. I've taken out that $112,706 from the line that we had put it in, which was not in the right place. So instead, in that place, the surplus funds. So it's not in the surplus funds, and it's not in the, hold on. Yeah, it's not in the surplus funds anymore. So now all we would have in there is the current estimated amount from the auditors.
What line are you on, Kathy?
So if you look at line 10.5002591, it's about 6 down on the back page of, so on the second page, had a little box next to it. So we would be putting $58,000 in that line based on new numbers from the auditors. That would be the income that we would be budgeting for 2024. And then on the first page, I'm just gonna go back to the first page. The FEMA grant that I mentioned before is 10-5-00-25-51. That would be under the FEMA grant line, under $34,000. So the moral of the story is that we have $34,000 more in that line, and we have $58,000 more in the other line for revenue in 2024 that will not impact the, if we use that in this year, it will not impact the tax rate. And remember, our current budget tax rate, I believe, is at
2.3?
Yeah, 2.3%. So we're in pretty good shape in terms of the tax rate right now. If we decided to.
Getting ready for that 18%.
I was just gonna say, that tax rate looks good. Need to talk to the state crew.
So, what I have some suggestions on where you might want to spend that revenue, but it's absolutely up to the select board to do so. I heard Gavin say already that he is hoping to spend surplus money in the equipment, surplus transfer to equipment fund. So if you go all the way to the back, that's already there. I already suggested that take place. So that would be $58,000. And I also suggested, and this is for discussion, it is not, it is totally up to the select board. I was suggesting that you use some of the the FEMA money reimbursement to address some zoning issues.
Is the surplus 70K or 58K?
It's 58, I gave you an updated sheet. Do you have that?
No, I don't have the updated sheet. I have.
And how strong is this 58?
There it is, that's the one. That's the
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Excuse me.
But how strong is the 58,000?
It's like 98%. I've done the math, and they came in lower than my math, and based on the accounts payable that we just went through for the final amounts for 2023, I believe we should be pretty solid with that.
I'd like to make a motion.
Did you want to talk about the zoning piece?
We can talk about it after the, if you want to make a motion, we'll discuss the motion. Or you want to talk about it beforehand? I think all right, I'd like to make a motion that we include an estimated surplus of 58K and 38K from FEMA reimbursement into 2024 non-tax revenue to be used in the following ways. Increase zoning legal expense line at $2,000. Increase zoning miscellaneous to contract with Northwest Regional Planning 1624 or $224. Utilize 58K to transfer to the equipment expense line and add the equipment fund line 15,776, bring it to 55,776.
I'll second that. The 16,000 for national regional planning, did we not get the grant because they're overloaded?
Yes.
Or, so if we assign 16, I think this is the perfect way to fund what we need to do, continue this discussion. But is regional planning have the capacity to do that?
It was just a money issue.
So, okay, so just a money issue, not that they can't.
Yeah, and even with that said, is we could still fund this, still pursue the grant, and possibly not spend that money.
Right.
Right, but I'm just, if we can't do it with regional planning, I don't wanna call out regional planning here and have this money earmarked only for regional planning.
I think that's a fair amendment. I think that if you wanted to take out the Northwest Regional Planning part.
Okay, that's a friendly amendment. I'll strike the, just increase zoning miscellaneous.
With the intent to
contract. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they'll leave it open so that,
Yeah, that's
Leave it
true.
open,
There could
but
be a
our intention is
facilitator.
to, right, facilitate the conversation and looking at the bylaws and the town plan.
So would he have to write a grant, rewrite the grant for the 24 year to get it?
only if you decide not to pass the motion that's on the table.
Well, no, in
I mean,
addition to,
in addition
we
to.
could fund this, we could pass this motion, allocate the funds, get Steve going,
Oh.
resubmit a grant.
It wouldn't be till September, it's September.
It's
Right,
due
but
in
if you got the
September.
grant, is it one of those, if you start the process,
Yeah.
would you not be eligible for the grant? That's what I'm
Oh,
asking.
That I don't know.
Well,
the
let's
answer
let's
to.
just, we,
But
you
that's,
know what?
we're beyond
Yeah.
worrying about that, we need to,
Yeah,
I'm not the one that's saying no to all this. This is how, we need to move forward with this conversation today. Let's fund that and move forward with it.
That's the motion, okay.
And if we can apply for the grant in
and apply for the
September,
grant, yeah,
great.
sure.
Yeah, the,
So how much is actually going into?
The
this
contract
equipment?
was 16,224,
You got 15 and 58?
Oh, equipment fund?
58 and 30.
58 and 15, yes.
15. Because you know, you got that truck on order, plus you still gotta finish out that loader truck.
Well, 55K, or you think, yes. So
No, I'm just bringing up expenses you got coming down the line here. You got that truck, it's on order, we're committed to it.
Right.
And then you still gotta finish up the work on the small truck whenever they can get in and finish that.
Yep.
Well, this is,
65 grand.
Just-
we
just as a
this
side-
motion increases it to 55K.
right, exactly. And I just wanna make a side note that we did just pay off the 2021, truck in this month, this week's AP.
Mhm. But you got another $200,000 truck
Right.
coming down the line.
Right.
And
we
you got
do-
$65,000 you're gonna put into that little ton truck,
Right.
or ton and a half, whatever the heck it is.
Yep.
Just, these things coming along here, we gotta be, keep
No,
those
but
numbers in mind.
we need
I
to-
don't, whatever works for this zoning and planning, it'd be nice if he would just keep the grant thing going and see if it's possible to get reimbursed for it.
Yeah. that makes
Well, it's
sense.
also nice
We'll
that
look into
this surplus even came to us. I mean,
Yeah.
that, you know, good management of funds, here we find ourselves without a deficit, we got a surplus.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, last year we were at 9,000 and I was sweating.
Yeah.
I was like,
What'd you do
"Don't
with the rest of
spend
that?
any
What'd you
money."
do with the rest of that money last year?
Oh, it was put back into the budget. Offset
Okay,
taxes.
so this, you've got your motion made or your amendment? What-
Yeah, I got a motion, the only thing was, took a friendly amendment and we removed the designation of the planning.
For contracting is all.
Correct.
but-
Yeah, so you've got it all written down?
Well,
Close?
I can give
We'll
you a
work
copy of
through
it. Yeah, I'm sure.
So that's what you happy with? So we'll take a vote on it. You gentlemen
Yep.
favor? Anybody
I-
opposed?
Nope.
I guess that's where that one's going.
Thank you. So now that budget is ready for our book to go through the taxpayers.
Okay, I think I'll make a
think
motion,
that's it.
unless there's other business.
No.
Make a motion, we go into an executive session to discuss a personnel issue.
Jamie?
Oh, yes.
Do you want,
So we went into executive session to discuss personnel issue. We've had some applications for a zoning administrator. We had hired Stephen True as an interim zoning administrator. He also applied for the job. We've spoken to Stephen and we decided tonight to offer the job to Stephen as full-time zoning administrator for Fairfield
As an internal hire.
as an internal hire. Then we went back into executive session to discuss the interviews in the open position on the zoning and planning commission board. And in doing so, we selected Dan Pipes to serve out the remainder of the open term, which expires in the end of 2024.
And was filled by.
Oh, Dan Pipes. You're gonna miss that part.
No, okay,
It's the only thing I missed out all that.
There
I'm doing all
are
right.
two open, I were right on the ball. There are two open, two things that are expiring in 2024, but this particular seat,
Would be Harry, originally would have been Harry Goldstein.
Yes.
Goldhagen.
Goldhagen's seat. That being said, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
then we completed this meeting.